Photoshop edit now of a Dan Mountford style picture. So Dan Mountford, the graphic artist, who's got some photographic style images here with either buildings merging into the person's face or some kind of landscape image. Now, he did all of his pictures within the camera, but we're going to try a Photoshop version. Right, so I'm going to find my image that I'm going to use first and drag that onto Photoshop and open the image within Photoshop. So there we go. Okay, so let me just clear that out the way. So first of all, what I need to do is what I need to do before I do anything else is I'm going to save that as a Photoshop file just in case I mess anything up. So I'm just going to call this edit one there. I'm going to change the format to Photoshop to ensure that it's already saved in the folder that I want it to be in. Okay, so now I'm going to try and select my head so that I can remove the background. So I'm going to go onto a tool that I should find up here on the top left, but I think it's hiding underneath here. So if I right click on there it is. I want the quick selection tool. It's the one that looks like a paintbrush with the marching ants around it, so the little dotted lines. I'm going to then draw with that inside the head image that I've got, try and select out the majority of the head there. If I accidentally pick up a little bit more than I want, then I can actually get rid of that selection here. So if I just try and do a little bit here, if I accidentally picked up that as well, I can get rid of that by clicking or pressing on Alt on the keyboard, and it will minus that away when I go over it. Okay. If I also haven't selected everything that I need, I can continue just drawing on with the quick select tool there anyway. Right, so that's going to have given me a very rough selection. You see it hasn't quite got in all the bits of hair there or things like that. So to refine that selection, what we need to do is go up here to this option which says select and mask. This will enable me to get a better selection on there and for it to be more refined. So mine has automatically come up with this view in red, but sometimes for yours it might come up like that, or it might come up with nothing, or it might come up like that. I'm going to leave mine, I think, on the overlay view, the red view, because then I can see what is selected and what isn't. What I want to go on now is this tool on the top, on the left hand side, which if I hover over it, it should say on it, refine edge brush tool. So it looks like a hand and it's got a paintbrush around it. Okay, I'm going to skirt that around the edge, but at first what I might want to do is change the size of the brush. So I can either do that up here by clicking on that, or there's a keyboard shortcut that I can do, which is to get the square brackets, and if I, not on that, let me just type in something there. If I click off that and go on here, if I click on the right hand square bracket, it will make my brush bigger. If I click on the left hand square bracket, it makes it smaller. So I just want something that will enable me to go around the edge there. So I'm clicking on going along. Every now and then I stop to see the selection. And if you can see on here, it's picked up quite a few of the stray hairs already. Okay, I'm going around my face there. I've got quite a pale background and pale skin here, so I've just got to be careful that I don't, with the refine edge, actually miss some of my skin on there. Okay, I'm going around the hair to try and get a better selection there, and you can see it's eliminating some of the background there, which is a good thing. Okay, I'm doing that down there. Pick up those stray hairs. And I'll do the same over here too. So I'm almost like kind of colouring in with it a bit now because I've got so much stray hair there. Just need to go around. So that should be a better selection. If I'm not sure, I can click on the view option and once again click something else, and you can see where it's got all those stray hairs now, and that's a much more accurate selection. All right, so at this point I'm going to click on OK, and what I'll be left with is the marching ants, which is the selection that I've chosen. So what I need to do now is I need to put on a mask onto this layer so that I can like block out my plain background behind. So I'll find that on the layers tool by going down here, and you can see it looks like a rectangle with a black hole in it, and it's called layer mask. There you go. And it's literally just blocked off all of the background that I don't want to see anymore, which is great. I'd like to put in a clean background now, so I can put in just a plain white background by going on the adjustment layer, which is the circle that's half black, half white. Click on that, and I'm going to go to the one up the top here, which is solid color. Now, at the minute, it's just put a big black color over the whole thing. So I'm going to just highlight that I want it white, click on OK. And what it's done is it's put the layer on top of the last layer, whereas I actually want it to sit underneath so that my head's on top of that. So I just click on it, drag it under. Okay, so you see it's dragged under. So I've got my nice refined edge, got my white background. So now I can start thinking about the image that I'm going to blend into that picture. So I have a few picture choices here, and I am going to choose, which one? I'm going to choose this one. So I'm going to just drag that and drop it over the top of my image. I wanted it to go right on the top of my image, and it hasn't at the minute. It's sitting underneath, so I'm just going to move it to the top layer there. Now, unfortunately, I can't see my image underneath at the minute. So what I could do is I could change the opacity just briefly of this so that I could see my image underneath. The reason I want to see my image underneath is because I want to size up what's in the background layer onto my hair so that I get the most interesting result possible. I could also change the size of my image if I wanted to make it larger or smaller to fit onto it as well. So I'm going to make sure that I'm selected the move tool there, because then I can move this image around. If I want to change the size of this image, I can go on my keyboard shortcut of Command T to transform, and it will give me the bounding boxes to transform it. I can make it that size, so it's just the size to my head. I could choose to rotate it at this point. If I put my cursor over the corner there, I get the curvy arrow, which will enable me to tilt the direction that it's going in. Okay, I could still make that larger there. I could choose to put that up, not sure. When I'm happy with my selection and the transformation of it, I go on the tick up here, or I think it should also select it. Okay, if I double click on it, let's try. There you go, that's worked as well. So it's the tick up there or the double click. Okay, so I'm going to put the opacity back up to the top. My next step is that I want to link this image to the background layer underneath it. No, that's not my next step. My next step is I want to put a layer mask on this layer too. So I just make sure that it's selected, and I go into the layer mask option, the rectangle with the black dot again, and I put my mask on there. Now my next step is I want to link it to the layer underneath. And so I need to go on that top layer. I can go on this layer menu button here and find create clipping mask. And what the clipping mask should do is attach it to the layer underneath. Okay, so by attaching it to the layer underneath, it's also borrowed the mask of the layer underneath, which is why now I don't have all the background in. Okay, what I now need to do is, using this layer mask that I've just put on this layer, so I'm saying layer a lot, I need to make sure that I'm selected on that. So I've clicked on it, and I'm going to remove some of the masks so that I get my face back. So to do that, I need to be on the paintbrush tool, which is here on the left. If I hover over it, it will say brush tool. I need to make sure that my tone selected is black. there. I will need a reasonable size brush to paint on here, so I could either once again change my brush size by going up here and changing it there, or I can use my square brackets again to make it bigger or smaller. Now there's something extra that I need to do to this paintbrush, and that's looking up here at the opacity and the flow. I want my opacity to be 100%, so perfect, that's great. But I want my flow to be lower because I want it to be more kind of like transparent and not just block out my face with a hard line. So actually I might make my brush just a little bit bigger, and I'm going to start to paint on there. And can you see it's removing some of the mask underneath, because it's just, I'm on this mask and it's removing some of this layer now. There we go. So I'm just going to get in my face, maybe a little bit of the frame of my hair as well. All right. So when I finish doing anything like painting or cropping or anything like that, I tend to always go back to the move tool, just so that I don't accidentally paint some more or crop some more or select some more or anything like that. Right, okay, next step. Now I want to make, Dan Mountford's pictures were more photographically toned, like black and white or reduced colours, so I want to add that effect to this. Now I can do that by adding a gradient map. So I get that in a layer here on the adjustment layer, and I look for gradient map there. Great, there it is. It's given me a black and white one, fine, but there are some more options for us. But I need to do something, or I need you to check something is set on your computer. So on your computer, I need you to go up to the window now, and I need you to find the layer that says gradients. That will pop up there. And on this menu here, this little button here, which is always those lines there, the menu button for each layer in Photoshop, I need you to click on it and make sure that legacy gradients is selected. Okay, we can just hide that off now. I can go back to my gradient map layer, and if I double click on where it's got the gradient on the left hand side, I get this back up. If I now click on the actual gradient tone there itself, I get up this. And if I scroll down, I should see something that says legacy gradients. Oh, I've got it twice. If I open up that there and scroll down, I'm looking for one that says photographic turning. Here it is. And if I open that up, I get all these little swatches here, which are kind of like traditional photographic tones from the old days of film photography. So I want, ooh, that one's nice. Okay, I think I'll go back to that one, but you can select a few different ones. There's some blue ones, pink ones, various shades of sepia, browns. What you're looking for is something that makes the tones more contrasty, more black and white. Don't mind that one actually. But I'm going to go back to that one because I like the way the leaves there have now gone really light and against a dark background there. And then I just press OK. Right, there's something else that I can do to this now to make it even more contrasty, and that's to add another adjustment layer, but look for one that says curves. All these ones here are just about your tones, your lights and your darks. So if I add curves there, and if I try and do a little move of that bit up there and a little move of that line up down there, it will create an S-band kind of shape. And what that can do is it can either increase the whites that you've got there, or it could increase the blacks that you've got down there. You don't want to do it too extreme because it just goes quite horrible like that. Okay, we want subtle differences. Okay, happy with that. Our last step, oh no, actually I think there's two last steps. Our next step, we can do something to make this blend in a bit more with the hair. So I can go back on the background layer, so the flower layer that I've got there, my landscape, and I'm going to change the blend layer of it. So the blend layer is this thing up here where it says normal. So it's just got a normal blending layer at the minute. But if I click on it and choose something like lighten, I'll see more of my hair from my portrait underneath here. Okay, so if I want to just double check in reality what that looked like before and afterwards, I can go up to my history action and see, okay, so that was it before, this is it after. So it just makes it blend just that little bit more. Okay, I could now just leave it with a white background, but there's another option that I've got for you that I want you to try, and that is to change the colour of the background. So you would go back onto this layer there, you would click on the colour that you selected, in fact double click, and then if I hover over here, can you see I've got a little pipette, and if I picked up the lightest colour I possibly could, can you see it changes the background colour there? So I don't want to do anything dark like that. I don't want to do it like that. I want to pick up a subtle light tone. So it just makes it like off-white in a way. I'm going to OK it. So that's pretty much it. Now I already saved it earlier, but I need to save it again. So I'm just going to go File, Save, because I already saved it as a Photoshop file. There we go. And then, because you guys are going to put it also onto your slides, I need you to go File and then Save a Copy as well. So I'll already have my Photoshop version of it, but we're going to change that down there and have a JPEG version of it so that you can put it onto your slides. Save. Boom. Oh, when you save as a JPEG, when you get this menu here, you always have to push this right up to large. Otherwise it will save it really small and pixely and horribly. Okay, so we OK it now? Ta-da! Done. Okay, you have a go. Bye.